Welcome everybody to our new YouTube channel. This is our first episode. In our first episode, well, all of our episodes, we're going to be talking about different topics in Colombia. And we'll be bringing you new content probably on a bi-weekly basis. So those of you who are interested in different topics about Colombia, this is your new place to check it out and get this information. Our first video we're doing that today, and our first video is about opening a business in Colombia. Just to give you a little background information on myself, my name is Ernest Canada. I have several businesses here in Colombia. Some of you may have heard of the Vibe Gastrobar, which is more of a sports bar here in Colombia. The Miami Hotel, Fusion Gastrobar, and other Airbnb properties here in Colombia. I'm joined by my associate. This is Jair. Jair helps me with pretty much everything here. He's a bilingual individual. He's a person that's helping me to bridge the gap between the things in the U.S. and how business is done here in Colombia. Would you like to say something, Jair?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity, Ernest. Hello, everybody. I'm excited of this new project with you. So, if I can help you with something, let me know.
Okay. To give you guys some background on myself, as I said before, I have several businesses here in Colombia. I originally came to Colombia 10 years ago as a tourist, and then from that time I expanded into various business opportunities. And some of the things that happen quite frequently, a lot of people ask me, I'm asked on a daily basis about how to get started in business, whether that is an Airbnb or hotel, restaurant, bar, those kind of things. These are businesses that I'm currently involved with, and I get asked these questions on a daily basis. So what I decided to do was, let's dedicate this particular YouTube channel to answering some of these questions that you guys have. So Jair here is going to ask a few questions that are related to business here in Colombia. These are some things that were already frequently asked. So Jair, go ahead and ask away.
Okay, Ernest. First of all, I want to ask you, what made you decide to choose Colombia or your destiny to do business?
Okay. Well, first of all, as I said, I've been here about 10 years. And I just came here as a tourist on vacation. I enjoyed the place. I liked it a lot. So I would begin to come more and more frequently. And one of the things that I noticed was that I started seeing more Americans every trip that I would come. It was more and more and more people coming. However, we're in South America, and during that time period, there were not as many Americans. So the culture here in Colombia had not quite made the adjustment to the way of life in North America. So when I saw this, I immediately thought about some of the businesses that I already had in the United States. One of those businesses is rental properties, Airbnb. And a lot of the properties here in Colombia, I would see just did not have some of the basic things that we were accustomed to as Americans. For example, strong Wi-Fi, hot water. Those are two basic things that we kind of take for granted in the States, and a lot of those things were not provided in many of the Airbnb properties here. Even something as serious as a king-size bed or a mattress that is very comfortable. A lot of the bedding, these seem like small things, but to tourists that are traveling, these are things that we took for granted and expected. So I chose that opportunity to be able to provide what I would consider American-friendly Airbnb and accommodations, which had a lot of the basic things that we take for granted in the States that you just didn't see here. I remember looking for a place to stay when I would come, and I'd see a nice apartment that I was interested in, but you had 3 twin beds in a room. I'm not interested in a twin bed.
Yeah, that's more a Colombian way to do things.
Yeah. So with that said, I knew immediately it would be more advantageous for myself and other people like me to have a king-size bed with comfortable accommodations, and these things were hard to find. So I immediately had a target market and a target audience in mind, which was the American traveler. Also, as far as the restaurant and bar business, that's something that I've been in also in the U.S. and I had sports bars, restaurants, nightclubs in the United States. But one of the things that I noticed was that I couldn't find a place to watch a sporting event here, and that was a big deal for me. Just some of the most basic things we take for granted, like where to watch your favorite team on Sunday in the NFL, or where to watch an NBA basketball game, or even a boxing match. Things that we typically take advantage of in the States were just not widely available here. And with the influx of American tourists, I knew there's a market for this. We're used to maybe going to a sports bar to watch our favorite sporting events. That just wasn't an option here. So as a result of that, I decided to open Vibe Gastrobar. And what Vibe is, it is a hybrid sports bar. It's a sports bar that, yes, we have the ability to show all sorts of sporting events. Every NFL game on Sunday, any NBA basketball game, any pay-per-view event. And one of the things that was going on here in Colombia is that this country is dominated by soccer. And you see it on every television all day. And in the States, we don't watch a lot of soccer. So we were missing our American sports, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to take advantage of having a place to go to where we could enjoy cheering for our favorite team. And that was going to be very important to us. And also enjoying buffalo wings, lemon pepper wings, things like that. Just things that we take for granted in the States that we're used to. There was just no place to find these things here. So I thought it was a big opportunity to get ahead of the curve as people were beginning to come. More and more people were influxing to come to Colombia from the U.S. to be prepared for this, and that was the motivating factor for Vibe Gastro.
Okay, got it, Ernest. Ernest, if I'm interested to do business here in Colombia, what advice can you give me?
Okay, first thing I would say is that if you want to do business here, you need to try to figure out what kind of business you want to do.
Okay.
You're going to need to either have some experience already in this business, or you're going to have someone you can trust who has experience in the business that you're doing business with. If you don't have these two things, my suggestion would be not to go to a foreign country trying to do business. I mean, what sense does it make to go to a whole other country that you may or may not even speak the language and to try to do business where the laws and rules and everything are different and you don't have any experience in the U.S. in doing these things? So my first suggestion would be figure out what you want to do. If you don't have experience in it, make sure that you're talking to someone who has a proven track record and experience in doing this sort of business. Because if you don't, you're really, that's a recipe for disaster if you don't.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so that would be the first bit of advice I would give. After that, what I would say is you have to do your research. You have to do market research to determine, can this market handle the kind of business that you want to do? You have to find a location. Locations are very important. For example, if you're doing something related to an apartment, a rental house, or Airbnb, you need to be in one of the main tourist areas. You can't find a good deal on a property outside of the tourist areas and expect the tourists to want to stay at this property. It just doesn't work. So you have to do your research. You have to understand location. You have to understand a lot of things that need to go into this process of studying and learning from the very beginning. If you're dealing with something like the restaurant or bar business, location is very important for that as well. You're going to need a place that the tourists are in. Tourists are not going to travel miles away just to come to your particular location. It needs to be centrally located. It needs to be in a safe location. All those things are very important as well. One of the most difficult things is going to be for you to get a lease at a property, especially a commercial property. It's much easier to get a residential lease than it is a commercial lease. Things are not done the same way here as they're done in the U.S. In the U.S., we more or less would find a property we're interested in. Maybe they run a credit report. If we have enough money down and credit-wise we qualify, then we can rent the property. Here it's a little different. The biggest difference is that they don't run credit reports here the same way we do in the U.S. They're going to simply want to know, do you have some sort of ID that ties you to Colombia? Your passport from the U.S. is not enough. So you're going to automatically need a Colombian person to sign for you to get something here in terms of a lease, because they have no recourse to do anything if you destroy the property or something else. So you coming into the country without having a visa to live here or to do business, you're going to have to go through someone else to be able to do business here and that has a Colombian ID. That's going to be the biggest thing. And that person is going to need to qualify to be able to rent commercial property. So if you do want to do business here, that's going to be very important. And you got to find someone that you can trust. That's been a difficult thing as well. Coming here, not speaking the language, not knowing who you can trust is going to be a big factor, because things just do not work the same way in Colombia as they do in the U.S. So what we are going to offer to those of you who are interested in getting more information about doing business here in Colombia is you can contact us directly through our website. We have a phone number on our website. We'll put those things on the screen. It's going to be the MiamiHotelCartagena.com. You can send us an email. You can send us a WhatsApp message on our phone number to communicate with us and let us know if you would like a 5-minute consultation. In doing this 5-minute consultation, we'll contact you by phone and just give you a 5-minute briefing on some basic questions. Please, serious inquiries only. We're not looking just to have general conversations, but those of you who are serious about business in Colombia, get in touch with us and we'll get back in touch with you as soon as possible.
Okay, Ernest. One of the frequently questions people ask all the time is, if I have the opportunity to have an apartment here in Colombia, if I can live what I'm visiting, but when I back to the States, can I rent it to Airbnb? What advice can you give all those people who have this question?
Okay, yeah, that's a very frequently asked. That's probably the most commonly asked question that I run into. Is so many people here, when they come, they like the country, they want to spend more time here, and they want to know how they can get their own place and then also be able to make money while they're away. It is possible to do this, but it's changed so much lately. When I first got into the Airbnb market here, it was right before the pandemic. I already had my eyes on some property here, and then once I did get involved, once you could travel after the pandemic, a lot of properties were available at a low cost. So I was able to get into an apartment or a house or just about whatever I was interested in for a very reasonable cost, because they didn't know what to expect. Tourism was down, nobody was visiting.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of opportunities to get properties at that time. So I took advantage of that by getting a couple of properties and getting started. That's changed considerably now. The difference now is that these properties are not readily available. There are many properties now that have already been renovated, fixed up, whether it was by Americans or Europeans or other Colombians, and have taken advantage of that market. So now the market is becoming slightly saturated. The tourists are still coming, but there's so many more places for them to stay. And when you have more supply than you have demand, the price goes down. So that's exactly what's going on right now. It is a struggle to rent the same properties for the same amount of money and getting the same number of day rentals. So that market right now is very difficult. It's not like it used to be. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you in fact want a property, whether it's a house or an apartment for yourself, then I'd say it's still a good situation. And maybe when you're not here, you can try to rent it. But don't go into this for the sole purpose of making money. Because if you try to go into it right now in a saturated market, chances are you're going to end up spending more money than you make on that property. So I would only recommend someone to do that if they do really want to spend a lot of time here and they have a property available. Okay, while you're not gone, maybe you can make a little money to pay the bills while you're not here. But trying to do that now as your first option is just going to be to make money here on the Airbnb market in Cartagena, I would say, especially for someone who doesn't have experience, I would not give you the advice to do that right now. That's what I would say, unless you're going to be the one who's living in there most of the time.
Okay, got it.
Okay, in closing, I just want to say this to people who are interested in business here. I personally made a lot of mistakes in business here. And that's to be expected. I mean, there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be situations you don't expect. So expect the unexpected.
Okay.
There are going to be things that you just cannot account for that are going to happen, and you must be prepared for. Mainly, I would say that most of the mistakes I made were because of me trusting in others who did not have my best interest in mind. That was probably the main thing. The other thing is I made mistakes because I'm not fluent in Spanish. And you must have people who are fluent in English and Spanish to be able to do business here, because you're going to need the details. You're going to need to understand everything, not just parts of things. So if you're going to do real business here, you're going to either need to be fluent or you're going to need to have people with you that are fluent. You'll also need a good attorney if you're doing mid-level business, a good attorney and a good accountant. Because in the mid-level of business, these particular occupations are very important. I mean, if you're just going to open up a t-shirt shop, then it's not so much of a big deal. But when you start doing bigger business, it's vital here to have a good attorney and a good accountant, especially if you're going to have employees. The way they handle employees here is totally different than in the States, and you do have to understand the laws behind having employees, how many hours they can work, and what your responsibilities are. So I didn't have all this information from the beginning, and I made some mistakes because of this. So having these things is very important, and having someone you can trust is vital. This gentleman right here is very important to the company. He's someone who speaks English and Spanish, and he's a trustworthy person. And I'm very thankful to have him, because going forward, if you're going to do big business here, you're going to need people you can trust and count on. So I just want to say that about my man Jair right here. But this is a must for doing business here in Colombia. And once again, if you want to get in touch with us, if you need a 5-minute free consultation, our website, the Miami Hotel Cartagena.com. It has our phone number. We'll show those things on the screen as well. We have great guest-friendly accommodations here for any number that you need, and any number of people, that is, from 1 to 56. And we can help you with all of those needs, but only serious inquiries about the consultation. I mean, I know you guys have a lot of basic questions. That's not what we're looking for. If you're seriously interested in doing business, you can get in touch with us for a free consultation. Anything you'd like to say, Jared?
I froze myself, boss.
We'll put that on the video too.